Okay, the meeting shall be called to order at 7 o'clock.
Oh, hold on, wait.
Wait a minute. Excuse me.
Says we're live?
Okay.
Excellent.
The meeting shall be called to order at 7 o'clock, and we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll do roll call. Starting to my left.
Tara Sunday. Jeanette Broder. Cheryl Lynn.
Nora Mukarski.
Melanie Brady Shanley.
Renee Waldron.
Tori Lavetri.
Sandra Struber.
Okay. Item 3, agenda review. Do I have pieces to add to the agenda? Melanie?
Yes, I'd like to request that the board please add a crowdfunding request form from teacher Victoria McDonald,
I'd make a motion to add that to the agenda.
I'll second.
and that would be under section 12, item B.
Section 12, item B. Okay.
Miss Barb, adjustment to the attendance to include Kristen Peterson, please. And the second request that I would be adding would be for a motion to add policies 6172.1A for gifted and talented programming as an item of action for a second read
I'd make a
for
motion.
policy.
I'd make a motion to add that to the agenda.
I'll second.
This requires a vote.
Yes, go.
Okay, so all in favor to add the gifted and talented policy to the agenda
Aye.
under action items? That's unanimous. Okay.
Second policy would be policy 4118.114A, and the title of that policy is Pregnant Employee in the Workplace / Lactation Accommodation, and that would be for a second read.
Make a motion to add that policy to the board action items.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Barb? One opposed? Okay, that's to item 12. All right, very good. The next item on the agenda is item 4, and comments from the chairperson. And I'm serving in for Doug today, who is has been excused. He's traveling. But what I'd like to say is I'd like to commend Melanie publicly, and I would also like to commend the district publicly, the teachers and the whole workforce behind what we're going to see today, which is reports on how well the kids did on standardized reports. But that's one measurement in which we can measure our kids' happiness. We also know that it takes a community, it takes a village, and that was very clear with the opening of the new school. And lots of people came out on the weekend with their own time. Teachers, parents, administrators, individuals that really just wanted to step in, and I think that's really good. I also like to commemorate the taxpayers who were willing to put forward the monies to bond for this project. I think it adds a new vitality to our community, it attracts more people to our community, and it brings in the talent, and I think that really, in large part, is led by Melanie, and I think that's very important for us to celebrate that as well, and we'll see how we can celebrate all of us tonight with our scores. Okay, that's item 4, and now we'll move on to item 5, presentations.
Thank you. So I'd like to invite our team to the front for our presentation. We do have a microphone, which is nice. All right.
If you could, while you present, be mindful of the microphone. We'd like people at home to hear what we've done.
Yeah. Is that too dark for you? Yeah, too dark. That better?
So good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'm really excited to see that we have a nice group of attendees tonight to be able to review our scores. I want to first commend our staff. We've come through a difficult 2 to 3 years in the past due to COVID. We have worked really hard to keep our students in person. We have persevered through a difficult time, and without staff who've been absolutely wonderful, they've persevered, they've supported our students emotionally and academically, we would not be able to share the results that we're going to be able to share with you this evening. So we're pleased with these results. We are very, very close to where we were at pre-pandemic. With 1 school year, we'll be able to close that gap with the persistence and the path that we're currently on. So without further ado, I'm going to allow our staff a moment here to introduce themselves, their positions within the district, and their time within district. So Shannon, we'll start with you.
I am Shannon Ball. I am now the district literacy coach. I've previously been a 3rd grade teacher, and this is my 17th year with the district.
Good evening, board members and community members, and thank you for coming out today. My name is Barbara Silverio. I'm the principal of Pearson School, grades 3 through 6, and I'm going on my 9th year as administrator at Pearson. Good evening, everyone. I'm Rosie Field. I'm the principal of Hinsdale School. This is my 7th year in the district with an interventionist, a teacher, a coach, and now the principal.
Hi everyone, my name is Glenna Dulakis. I'm the inclusion coach for the district, and I'm going into my 5th year here, happily.
Hi everyone, I am Rachel Manzer. I am the STEAM coach for the district, and I'm going on, I think it's my 5th year, maybe it's the 6th year. I think it's 5th year.
Good evening, board. Good evening, everybody in the audience. I'm Seamus Cullen, and I'm going on my 7th year here in district. I'm the director of student services for Winchester Public Schools.
Good evening. Nice to see you again, Lauren.
Hi, I'm Cassandra Murphy. I am the assistant director of student services, and this is going to be the start of my 8th year.
And I am Melanie Brady Shanley, superintendent of the school district in my 6th year now. So we're going to start our presentation this evening, and I apologize that my back is to our board, but I'm going to speak out here. We want to review with you what we have covered this year in terms of assessments. So these assessments were provided to students last spring. So this is the May timeframe with that assessment. So our SBAC, which is the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium, consists of being administered in grades 3 through 8. So 2 grades at the Gilbert School, the rest of the grades here at WPS. And SBAC tests English Language Arts, which we refer to as ELA, and it also tests mathematics. Under science, we have a test called the NGSS for short, which is the Next Generation Science Standards. That is tested in 3 different time frames throughout a student's education. Grades 5, grade 8, grade 11. And that is a science assessment. And we're gonna ask the questions this evening are held to the end, and that we'll address any questions at the end that anybody may have. Last spring, so the population that was tested, mind you, this is not all of our students, because we're only testing grades 3 to 6 in these assessments. We had 284 students that were tested. We are in what is called District Reference Group G, and I'm going to explain what that means to you and why that's so important to recognize going forward. We have a free and reduced population percentage of 65% of our students receive either free or reduced lunch. And we have a 20% population of students that qualify for special services, meaning special education. So I'm going to turn this over right now to Ms. Silverio, and she is going to walk you through what the ELA assessment covers.
So in ELA, they have what's called claims, which are broad categories of language arts. The first category of ELA claim is Claim 1, reading, where students are required to read closely and analytically to comprehend a range of increasingly complex literary and informational texts. With the smarter balance, they stay within the band of the grade level, on the high end of the grade level, but the text is what is expected at that grade level. Listening is the second claim. Students can employ effective speaking and listening skills for a range of purposes and audiences. And the third and fourth claims are writing and research inquiry, where students can strengthen writing by revising, editing, and rewriting a range of texts. Students can also analyze and integrate evidence-based information to support analysis of research. So I'm just going to talk about a sample assessment question, and this one addresses the writing standard or claim. So for example, a student can get one typically open-ended writing response called a brief write. It's either a narrative, informational, or opinion. They will only get one. And typically it asks them to take a student's writing and add to it in some way. Typically a narrative, they would ask them to add description and dialogue. For example, in this one that is up there, it asks them to write 2 paragraphs to finish the story that was written, adding description and dialogue. For an opinion brief write, they might ask them to write the introduction that is missing from the student's writing. For an informational, it might ask them to take student notes that are written out and have them create a paragraph or 2 using those notes to expand or create the subtopics.
So to look at how our students did, we know that we're looking at achievement, and what achievement measures is the percentage of students that are proficient, meaning scored a level 3 or a level 4 on this particular assessment. So they met the targeted percent to say that they have mastered a good portion of this skill set. So for us right now, 49% was where the state tested, that is where we tested. So we met state average on ELA. We had 28% of our students at level 1, 24% at level 2, and then we had a total of 49% of our students that were proficient or higher on the assessment. When you look at our local context, we went and looked at about 8 surrounding districts, Barkhamsted, Norfolk, Colebrook, Torrington, Region 6, Litchfield, Harwinton, those types of areas around. And I'm really, really pleased because their DERGs, when we get to DERGs here, their district reference group labels are higher than ours, meaning they have a higher socioeconomic level than what our town does. And we are performing right in the middle of that pack for ELA, which we're really, really pleased about. I think with time, we will also see that increase as we continue to raise our percentage and set our targets higher every single year. So I'm going to turn this over to Glenna now to talk to you about what is tested in terms of claims.
As Barb had said, the claims are broad categories for ELA. The first one listed there is listening and interpreting information. This goes along with our speaking and listening standards. Students are asked to listen to a passage read aloud to them, so it's an audio clip only, and they have to answer comprehension questions about that audio clip. For the reading claim, students have a variety of different question types, whether it be multiple choice, open response. Sometimes they have to pick 2 choices. And some of the areas that we are looking at are the literary and informational text, key details, central ideas, word meanings, reasoning and evidence, analysis within and across text, and text structures, features, and language use. And then the last 2 claims are writing and research inquiry, so those are 2 separate claims, so 3 and 4. Shannon had already spoken a little bit about our brief rights. There are also other questions in regards to editing and revising text, using vocabulary, and supporting opinions and ideas with citing evidence from the text that they're given.
I'm going to speak to you about mathematics assessment area. So I'm going to review or discuss with you first what's being tested in the area of mathematics. So there are 4 different claim areas in mathematics as well. So communicating reasoning is where students are looking to clearly and precisely conduct an argument or construct an argument to support reasoning or someone else's reasoning. So concepts and procedures, they're explaining and applying their concepts and interpreting what the mathematical procedures are, showing fluency. And then we have problem solving, which is the 3rd claim, problem solving and modeling, which is the 3rd claim, and then data analysis, which is the 4th. And in these areas, students are solving a range of complex different problems, and they're really making productive use of their knowledge and problem solving strategies that they've developed, and they're being able to really solve those real life scenarios that are presented to them.
To take a sneak peek at one of the math questions, one of the released math questions, I should say, is that the math test itself, there are 2 tests. One is a test that has concepts that are specifically at that grade level. So in this case, 6th grade is looking at trapezoids. They're looking at geometry type stuff, but they're trying to find the area of that. But in this little twist on it, they actually have to write the expression for the area. The other test they have in mathematics is a more of kind of like a problem solving. It's a big giant problem that they have to, multi-step problem that they have to try to solve.
So again, looking at achievement in mathematics, same principles apply as what applies in ELA in terms of proficiency is at that level 3 and level 4. So right now we again scored 49%, which was slightly above state average in mathematics. We're pleased again with that. We had 23% of our students scoring level 1, 28% at level 2, and then a total of 49% of our students meeting or exceeding the proficiency standards in math. And when we look again at the local context, mind you, there's a myriad of Dergs. Torrington is the only district reference group that actually has the same identifier as does Gilbert to Winchester. Every other local town has a higher Derg level, meaning a higher socioeconomic standing. So we are again performing right in the middle of those districts where if you look statistically, statistics tell you we should be underperforming compared to those other Dergs that are above us. So I'm going to turn it over here to Rosie to talk to you specifically about the 4 claims.
So the claims overall are looking for students to demonstrate progress towards college or career readiness in mathematics. So and those are in grades 3 through 8. In claim number 1, communicating reasoning, they're really just being asked to test, construct. So I'm going to ask you in this particular area, just focus on the verbs. So in mathematics, they're really doing a lot of doing. So they're applying what they've learned, base arguments, references to concepts that are being presented. The next section, concepts and procedures. Students are able to apply and those mathematical concepts that they've used, interpret and carry out procedures with fluency. They're being able to model and do some data analysis. So they're analyzing the complex real-life scenarios, as I said before. And when we look at the last 2 targets, these are more performance tasks. So students are doing a lot of doing. So they're presented with data and information and asked multiple questions that are built on each other based on that information, and they're asked to apply and justify. These are typically done open-ended, and there's a much higher level of depth of knowledge that students are expected to present.
Okay, so I could talk science all day long. I've already been told that it's have to have a limit. So, really quick.
You didn't put a time limit on students every time.
I told you I could talk science all day long. All right, so when we're looking at the claims for science, we're looking at three main content areas. We're looking at life sciences, physical sciences, and earth sciences. But in particular, we're looking at those practices. And those practices are those doing pieces. So we're not just talking about the memorization of content. No, we're talking about applying practices to be able to solve puzzles. So when we go into that second link, we're going to look at a question really quick, and we're going to scroll down that page to that. Keep going, keep going, keep going. So show you what a question is like. You can stop right there. Thank you. All right. So when the students get a question for NGSS, first of all, it is based on a real world phenomena that they have to be able to figure out. In this case, when you look at there, you're going to see that there's magnets that are hanging. So they're given a task. In this case, they're looking at, well, do those magnets come together? Do they separate, pull apart? And then it's a multi-step problem to figure out a puzzle or solution to the real world problem. So when you look at the right-hand side, you can see that they have to come up with some testable questions. They have to figure out what's changing, what's staying the same, getting into those variable stuff. And down in part C, they actually do simulations to test their ideas. They're designing their own experiment here and coming up with a conclusion. So that's science.
We're really proud of you, Rachel.
And I did it within the time frame. But one thing I do want to say that is a little bit different is that science is tested, as you know, in 5th grade, 8th grade, and 11th grade. It's when we're looking at the 5th grade test, it's not just 5th grade material. It is K through 5. And that's a big difference.
So I'm going to take you through the data on science, and it's really, really quite impressive. We had on our assessment, again, achievement, proficiency, or higher, level 3 or 4, we had 62% of our students in grade 5 meet or exceed the science standards. We had 18% at level 1, level 2, 20%, level 3 and 4, 62%. And in a local context regarding the districts that I had shared with you earlier, we are performing at the 3rd highest level amongst higher performing districts around us. So we are very, very proud of how hard our students perform, given the complexity also of how difficult the science assessment is and how much data analysis and just students constructing their own understanding goes into that particular assessment. All right, my favorite slide of all of them. So, like we have to put a little pullback on Rachel regarding science, you're gonna have to pull me back a little bit around the Derg assessment. So I wanna first identify for you truly what a Derg is. So this is a classification system that's used inside of Connecticut for public schools that classify us amongst having similar socioeconomic levels, and we are grouped together by that like characteristic. So this helps us to really make legitimate comparisons between districts to districts, because it's really difficult to take a Winchester who has a completely different demographic and maybe possibly compare it to an Avon who has a completely different demographic. So this is pulling demographics together through like towns throughout the state of Connecticut. For those of us that are in level G, which is our Derg, we have Bloomfield, Hamden, Middletown, Putnam, Vernon, Bristol, Killingly, Naugatuck, Stratford, Windsor, East Haven, Manchester, Plainfield, Torrington, Norwich, Free Academy, Groton, and the Gilbert School, all with us as partner schools. Dergs go down to level to I. So they start with A, which is like your Darien-Ann's, and then they work their way down to like the lowest category, which would be the most impacted, which would be your more urban centers, your large urban centers in the state of Connecticut. So if we took our Derg and we looked across those schools that are identified inside of that Derg. We have, in math performance, you can see our chart here, we are first in our Derg amongst all of those schools by 6.4%. So we outperformed all of the like districts in our area by 6.4%. And you can see we're the green bar over here, which pushes us in first place for that. For ELA, we were third amongst the Derg, and that has us off by 3.9%. So we feel like we can work to continue to achieve closing that gap that we have there. We were outperformed in that particular area by Groton and Vernon. And then in science, we were first across our Derg with that 62% that I had showed you just a few minutes ago. And we were ahead of the pack by 12.1%. So what that tells us is what we're doing is absolutely having the right impact for student achievement in our district. And I'm going to take it one step further with the next slide that we're going to get into, which is going to talk about growth. So equally important is the achievement of students who are already performing where they need to be, juxtaposed with a student who might not quite be at that level, but the state has a target for them that says, in order to close your own personal achievement gap, you have to get to this point. So we're going to talk to you next about that growth point and how our students are doing achieving their next level of success. All right, so I'm going to invite Barb and Glenna up to talk about two different areas, and I'm going to have Barb kind of explain the difference between these two charts up here, if you would please.
So growth, as Melanie said, is very important to us. We want to make sure that students understand that they all have a goal to work towards, and to see such wonderful growth in these areas for our students is really, really most exciting. So on the left we're looking at ELA, we're looking at state growth versus Winchester Public Schools overall in all grade levels. Okay, so we can see Winchester Public Schools on the left, grade 6, versus the right side, we have state growth high needs versus WPS high needs. So we have a percentage of students that are meeting their growth target goals. In high needs consists of students in the categories of special education, EL students, and students who would qualify for free and reduced lunch. So that would be high needs. And on the left side, we have the overall population of our students. So in looking at, on the left side on the top, we have grade 6 Winchester Public Schools, 57.6% of the students scored, met their growth target in grade 6. And grade 5, 77.2%. We've never seen growth numbers this high in our district. We're very proud of this. 77.2% of our students in grade 5 in ELA met their growth target. The majority of our kids met their goals. Grade 4, 49.5. WPS overall, 61% of our student population met the expected target goal. And the Connecticut average is 60.4. So we outperformed by 1.3 percentage points to the state expected growth.
And I just want to add to what Barb has said. Grade 3 is not on there yet because it's their first year testing and they don't have any data to compare growth. For grade 6, our 6th graders who are considered high need students, we had 67.9% growth, which is a little bit higher than the overall grade levels. That was really great growth for our students. Our grade 5 students were at 75.9%, and that is very close to the overall grade level. Grade 4, 46.7%, and again, we're keeping close to how the grade level did. Our overall growth for our high needs population was 63.8%, and for the seat, the Connecticut ELA, for the state, it was 56.2%. So overall, in most of our areas, we were exceeding what the Connecticut growth was.
And in mathematics, looking looking again the overall grade levels versus the high needs on the right side. So we are very, very proud of our growth in mathematics. If you look at grade 6 math, 76.3% of the students in the grade level met their targeted growth goal. 97.1% of our students, that's down to 2 students, who met, 97% met their growth target in the grade level. Grade 4, 61.1%. Overall, 78.2% of our students in our whole school populations 4 through 6 met their growth target. The state average was 65.2.
For our high needs populations, grade 6, we had 76.5%. Grade 5, 99%. Grade 4, 60.2%. And the overall was 79.4%. The Connecticut average was 59.1% for our high needs populations.
The data really speaks for itself in terms of how our students are responding to the instruction that is happening in the classroom. I'm looking at 2 classroom teachers in the back there. Yeah, I'm gonna call you both out. Mrs. Leach and Mrs. Corrado in the back. And the work that's going on in the classroom, while we have the pleasure of being able to see how our kids respond and how our teachers are instructing on a daily basis, you get to see the data behind what they're producing. And the data is really, given the hardest of educational times, no one thought we were gonna have 3 years in a pandemic. We are really, really keeping our kids current and in a place where they're performing academically very, very strong at this moment. I do want to bring Mrs. Silverio up to talk about some of our overall highlights. And then I'm going to ask Mr. Cullinan to come up and talk about kind of an experience that he had this past Friday regarding a conversation with some other directors in our local area.
I will try to keep this brief because it can get very complicated, but inside each claim in ELA and in math, you have several targets underneath each claim, and the targets break it down to more specific types of problems and questions that fall under different types of concepts. So every year, I give the teachers a big spreadsheet, and it breaks down. We love feedback. We love to know how we did in each area, so we can get an overall performance on our claims, but it also gives us a little bit of feedback on our targets by grade level. So we can see each grade level. There's 3 areas we're going to score in based on how the state scores. We're either going to be in the blue, which means we scored the grade level exceeded in that area of performance on that specific target, or in the yellow, meaning that there really wasn't any strength or weakness in the performance of the grade level. It was just kind of similar performance throughout the test. Or we'll have a red zone where we had an area of weakness on that specific target. So we provide the teachers with this feedback, and they could break it down into specific targets. So this year, we saw that we had some areas of above proficiency standard on certain targets and targeted as an area of strength. In grade 5 reading, for example, literary text, analysis within or across text. And the teachers can say, yeah, I remember working on that. We reviewed that. That's part of our curriculum, and we worked really hard on that. We gave the kids feedback, and they improved as they practiced. Writing last year, every grade level lit up in red on grammar and editing. And we said we have to fix this. We see our kids writing in this day and age, and we know that the spelling, the editing needs attention. 2 of the grade levels scored better in that area, and 2 still are in the red. So we have some areas where we showed improvement, and just getting feedback last year and working on it, we were able to show improvement in 2 grade levels. We're going to continue working on that. In math, we had above proficiency standard ratings in Target G, solving problems involving measurement and estimation, and I told teachers this is the first time in my career that I've ever seen any kind of above standard performance in that area. It's always been an American problem where we have to work on our measurement estimation, so it was to score above proficiency in that area was wonderful. Geometric measurement, again, great. Understanding decimal notation for fractions in grade 4 was a strength. classifying two-dimensional figures into categories based on their properties in grade 5, and grade 6, developing understanding of statistical variability, which has always been a struggle area for 6th grade, came out as an area of strength. We also see areas that we need to continue working on. Grade 3, reading, literary text language usage. Grade 3 and 4, writing, are going to continue to work on their editing. Grade 4, math, target A, using 4 operations with whole numbers to solve problems. And the ELA science, math, and science targets. Just trying to remember what we wanted to say about this side
This was
here.
just for our school improvement plan.
Okay, so this is the overall targeted goals, thank you, Mel, that we set for our school. We're looking to move from 49% proficiency achievement to 51% by June 2023, and in math, move from 49 to 51, and in science, 62 to 63. Again, small steps, but if we're continuing to go in the right direction, we're going to continue to see higher achievement and more students hopefully meeting their targeted growth goals.
I'll turn it over to Mr. Cullen at this time just to share a story with you, and I think it really kind of highlights where we were versus where we are.
Thanks, Mel. So I had the pleasure on Friday. Every year we have the state of Connecticut holds a special education back to school meeting for all the local special ed directors in the state of Connecticut. So we sit in a big auditorium with about 2,000 of our fellow colleagues, special ed directors, supervisors, assistant superintendents, things like that. So this board packet came across my email, and as always, I kind of review before the board meetings just to kind of see what's in the packet, what's going on, and knowing full well that this would be on the agenda. So I kind of take a look at this, and I had 2 or 3 colleagues sitting next to me. I'm not going to name what towns they are, but some surrounding towns I'm very friendly with the directors, and I've built some relationships with. And I just happened to pull up the scores, and really excited about these scores and the hard work that our special education students have really put into this district over the last 7 years that I've been here, 6 years, excuse me, that I've been here. And I was really happy to pull up these scores and really show them these scores. Their immediate response was the jaw dropped and said, "What are you doing?" They said that our scores they're not even touching our scores and what they're looking like for growth targets. They said they're looking at our scores and saying, "What's in the water?" So normally that's not something you hear about the Winchester Public Schools, especially if you revert back 6 years ago into receivership. That's not where we were at. Special education was at the forefront of where we were at 6 years ago as a major concern in this district. Now when we look at these scores, our highest need students, our lowest population students, our EL students are the students that are performing almost at and sometimes exceeding our regular education students. So to see that other directors in a higher Derg that Mel said in this local area, that to say that we are well above and outperforming them in their district, and to say, what are you doing in the district that we can replicate, just shows the work and the effort that our teachers and our staff are putting into in this district. And I'd say that the board, I commend that these teachers, and I know Mel and I sit in front of you every single day and say, it's the work of these teachers every single day that they're doing this. Ms. Murphy, myself, and the teachers below, they're the ones that are putting in all this effort, and they are doing a tremendous job. They just need to know that, and they need to hear that on an everyday basis. So thank you.
Well, we couldn't have wrapped it up any better with a statement like that. So I want to thank our staff that was able to join us this evening, and we are happy to entertain any questions that maybe the audience has or our board members have regarding this presentation. I'm gonna step out in case I need to walk over to anybody. Does anyone have any questions?
I just first like to recognize the efforts of everybody in this, and I'm so glad to see that a number of people here today and online listening and watching the progress that we've made over 6 years. One of the things Doug said is to develop a district that was excellent. That was the goal 6 years ago, and I think this is what's happening here when we see it. So truthfully, we need to give you all a round of applause. Questions from the board? Yep.
I just wanted to say that it seems like the science achievements may correspond with the enthusiasm of the. No, thank you. It's nice to see enthusiasm.
enthusiasm is contagious.
Any audience questions we'd be happy to address? Okay.
I would just also
Thank
like
you.
to commend Melanie again. The State Department of Education had asked her to make a presentation. So Melanie, can you reiterate real quick
Yeah.
some of the aspects that you can attribute, that you can focus on or point to that mounted to this success in a nutshell?
Yeah, so I had the pleasure, the end of August, I think it was August 25th off the top of my head, to be invited by the Commissioner of Education to speak with four of my other superintendent colleagues regarding Winchester's performance at her press release for the state scores. So between my four colleagues and I, we really highlighted multiple areas. One was around curriculum and instruction. I highlighted for us two areas that I really felt helped us persevere through the pandemic to lead us where we're at. The first area of which was pacing, making sure that our curriculum was on target, that we weren't slowing down the learning given the difficult situation we were in. We were really, really pushing ourselves and children to maintain the educational expectation throughout. And then second to that was the focus that I had around social emotional and the connection that our kids had to after school programming and really bringing a sense of like normalcy back to their lives rather than, you know, what the whole world was experiencing was kind of that cocoon type, you know, separatism throughout the entire pandemic. We really wanted to preserve kids being able to be kids because when kids can't be kids, it's no fun for them, it's no fun for the adult, and it's not healthy for kids to be isolated. They are not meant to be isolated. So we really worked hard to be able to make sure that our kids had experiences that were safe, but at the same time allowed them to be able to thrive. We came up with a program called Champs at Home, where there was crafting and there was online access to different activities, songs, dance, all types of lessons like that. We brought in mask makers after school to be able to do programming. We took the kids skiing in the wintertime and taught them how to ski over at Sundown, thank you. So like those types of experiences coupled with having strong academics, I really feel like is where we've been able to succeed and pull through. So that was a very nice experience to be highlighted in that way.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank you for the colors and the examples of test questions. As a curriculum committee, we had asked for a couple of those things, so I appreciate that.
You're always in our head when it comes to making sure it's colored. I just want to, real quick, Nora, anybody for public comment before I bring it up to Nora? One? Is this regular public comment? Or is this yep, if you want to sign up. Well, SBAC score right now, but regular public comment in just a second. Do we have to sign up for that? Yes.
Yeah.
Sign up is great.
Melanie, while they're waiting, can I just ask you, it's just kind of a procedural. How do you guys, once you get your SBAC scores, which are coming out, right, and we're getting them now, what's the process for the students for the next school year with new teachers, new classroom? How do you guys address that?
Probably Shannon could probably speak best to this, but I'll try to cover it in a nutshell for you. So we give the students their scores, we review their scores with them, but the most important part is not what did you get, it's what we're going to teach you to get next time. So starting actually next week, we start our NWEA testing. And every single student has a target that they are trying to reach this school year. So they're gonna set a baseline of their understanding in September here. And then when we do the winter assessments and the spring assessments, we're going to have a conversation, every single teacher in our district with all of these students about, here's where you were, this is what you learned, and this is where we want you to try to strive to reach. So it's important for that goal setting aspect that we have those connections with students to be able to help them see their potential.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions before I turn off the mic?
Okay.
Andy, I'm gonna put the microphone is on at the podium for when you come up.
Okay, we're going to move to public comment, but before we start our actual comments from the audience, I want to read the statement that we have as a policy, the board policy. Dear friends, neighbors, and fellow citizens, the Winchester Board of Education welcomes you to its business meeting. There are 2 times during the meeting set aside to hear comments from the public. It is listed on the agenda. You will receive upon entering the meeting here and should be limited to the agenda items. We would appreciate adherence to the following rules and guidelines. Complete the requested information on the sign-in sheet if you wish to speak. Okay? State your name and address when called upon to speak, especially because Barb needs to hear you. Address your comments to the chairperson, that would be me. Please do not mention the name of any specific person. As a matter of law, individuals have the right to be present, and discussions of this type must take place in executive sessions. State your thoughts, concerns, and questions clearly and concisely to ensure that other citizens have an opportunity to comment and that the board members can complete their work at a reasonable hour. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. It's not the practice of the board to respond to dialogue or comments or any questions from the floor at our meeting. The board has instructed the superintendent of schools to prepare an appropriate response in a timely fashion. Commentary should only be made during public comment. No commentary will be permitted during the regular business meeting. To be sure that your concern or statement gets proper attention, it may be in your best interest to speak to a building administrator or a superintendent of schools before making a presentation to the board. The superintendent has assured us that she will keep us informed of questions and concerns that are brought to her attention from the community and will inform us of actions she may have taken. We hope that you enjoy your time with us tonight and that you find it very informative. Winchester Board of Ed. Okay. Persons on the speaker list, Candy Perez.
Podium. Sorry. I'm usually behind those microphones. But that's what I want to make clear tonight is I'm Candy Perez, 605 West Wakefield Boulevard. I am not here as a member of the Board of Selectmen. I always want to make sure that is stated. I am here as a citizen, a retired administrator in public schools, and a teacher. First, congratulations on your student performance. It was outstanding. I know how hard it is to have achievements, and to all the teachers and everybody with boots on the ground, good job on that. I'm here to support policy 4118-114A, pregnant employees in the workplace / lactation accommodation that we'll be speaking about later. We are fortunate that the board, and especially the superintendent over the past 6 years, has implemented best practice and kept policies up to date with the laws. Accommodations in recent years, whether for students or for staff, have been made in order to include everyone. Just like ramps for people with different abilities allow all people with the ability to use them, so will passage of this policy. Thank you for looking into the policy and hope that it is passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else on the speakers list, we're going to move on to item 7. Consent agenda items, discussion possible actions, the minutes of the regular Board of Ed meeting August 9th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion and
I'll second.
Sal second. All in favor of A? Unanimous? Item B, minutes of committee meetings, August 23rd, 2022. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
That's Sal, or Tori, sorry. All, so I have a second to that? Okay. Tara? All in favor?
I abstain.
You abstain?
I wasn't there.
Okay, Christian, your hand up?
There's a lot of corrections. I'm not sure if Barb made them. I sent them to her earlier.
Okay. All right, so.
I'll abstain.
Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to, what is this, 8 over here? 602. 602, 2 abstentions. I think that passed. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item 8, Gilbert report from the Board of Education. Is there a Gilbert representative tonight that would like to report to us today?
Sure.
Okay.
Up and running. Congratulations, first of all, to members of the Winchester staff, all the way from Mel down to special ed. Great story. Seamus
Thank you. Item 9, correspondence to the board, resignation letters. Mel?
Yeah, so like every district in the state of Connecticut, we too have been impacted by the movement of staff throughout from district to district. We celebrate Allison Calkins, obtaining a full-time teaching position. She was an intervention with us, and she is now moving to her own classroom in a different district. Roger Katz, again, was an interventionist with us in our district. We're celebrating him moving into a full-time classroom position. We had a student or a teacher that had taken our TESOL position. However, she resigned before she started, so that was unfortunate. We also had a paraprofessional that took a position and resigned a week or two before school. Again, she did not start with us. However, we did the hiring packet on her. Our long-term sub, which was a music teacher from last year, has elected to stay in Florida with his ill mother. So he is taking on a job in Florida. We have a math interventionist that also took a job as a full-time classroom teacher. So what you're seeing here is a pathway here. We're creating interventionist positions. And it's a good thing because sometimes we get to keep them in the district and other times they get to serve other districts. So it's nice for us to be able to create a solid pipeline of good teachers for whether it's us that benefits or somebody else. We are sad to see Miss Kim Roy go. Miss Kim Roy served as the assistant principal at Pearson School for 5 years, and she is being celebrated as a new assistant principal in Region 9, which cuts her commute in half. She's been driving over an hour for the past 5 years. So we have a paraprofessional that is resigning to take a higher paying job in another district. And another para that resigned literally the day before school started to take a job in a different district. And we have two more, I apologize. We have one teacher for special education that is currently being held for 30 days, awaiting her transfer to a different district as a special ed teacher, and a second special education teacher who is being held for 30 days also while she moves to a different district. Those are resignations and movements.
How are we handling those vacancies?
Like a champion. Our staff, our administrators are working so hard interviewing potential candidates. Right now, we are working on some special education hiring. Right now, we're knee-deep in that right now. We're still actively searching for paraprofessionals. It's probably, I would highlight, the most difficult position right now across the state to fill. And to be quite honest, Winchester is not financially competitive in terms of other district salaries surrounding us. Other districts are paying anywhere from $2 to $3 more per hour than where we're at, and we are opening up negotiations on that contract this year, and that will need to be an area to be addressed.
Do I have a motion to accept with regret?
Second.
Go ahead. Who wants to do it first? Tori did the first. Okay, Kristen, second. All in favor of the motion of regret, to accept with regret? Unanimous. Okay. Item 9B, attendance information.
So I think that's going to be covered next under the report of discussion, enrollment and impact on school faculty.
Okay, so
A letter A under section 11.
11, okay.
Yes.
Okay, superintendent's report.
Yes, so just to start off, I'm going to knock on wood up here because we keep looking for a pile of wood to knock on a daily basis. We have had the smoothest start to the school year I think we've had in recent history. Hinsdale's obviously had a couple bumps regarding transportation and just kind of figuring out how to get 116 cars through pickup and drop off in 15 minutes. But they've achieved that now, so I think we have a process that's working. I just want to acknowledge everybody who volunteered their time this summer, came in. whether it was Hinsdale, whether it was Pearson, you know, our buildings looked beautiful, our property looked beautiful, and it was just such a wonderful experience coming back to the school year this year. Just so ready and so prepared. We're going to continue to grow through a little bit of growing pains at Hinsdale as we kind of figure out the intricacies of the building. But I can tell you that our teachers, our administrators, and our staff there responds to different situations every day when we come across them, and are very, very quick to ensure safety and security of all of our students and the workings of the new facility. So specifically, I do want to acknowledge the Sunday before school started, we had 20 staff members that volunteered, and loved ones, I will say also, amongst Board of Education members that came to Hinsdale Sunday morning from 8:30 to 11:30 and volunteered 3 hours of time to make sure that Hinsdale was ready for our students and our staff. And we all got a little dirty. Some of us mowed the lawns, some of us weed whacked, we had building cleaning, we had people putting up bulletin boards. So just taking care of those last minute details to make sure that everything was perfect as it possibly could be.
Can I quickly just mention the attention to detail? My son and I cleaned the corners of the doors and on the floor. So this is how clean and set and ready to go that school was. It was like, are you just trying to find work for us? I mean, it was really down to tiny details, and it was fantastic. Everybody was so happy there, and it was a lot of excitement.
Thank you. So under instruction, we've held 2 days of new teacher orientation, and that's where our coaching staff and administrators meet with each individual new teacher as a group, and they receive direct training on curriculum, resources, and planning. We've held ongoing interviews for various positions throughout the district. As you heard, we're working right now specifically on special education and paraprofessionals. Our administration and coaches have been working to plan our upcoming professional development on positive behavioral engagement, which is our focus of professional development this year, and we're going to be starting that tomorrow on our half day. Our website has been updated to reflect the new Hinsdale School. We have held family meet and greets at both Hinsdale and Pearson. We have had student meetings that have been held at all grade levels to welcome them back to school and set expectations for the school year. Our teachers' Ed Reflect accounts for evaluations have been updated. Goal-setting meetings will be completed in mid-October, and we are already starting, Barb and I start reviews of practice for evaluations tomorrow. Under operations, finalized all the projects at Hinsdale except for, right now, the 2 playgrounds, which are supposed to be delivered next week. Crossing my fingers. And the blue panels at the end of the building. Those are the 2 main projects. The little kid lockers got installed over the past weekend, and if you'd like to see the cutest set of lockers you've ever seen in your life, and look at 32-inch lockers, they are adorable. So all of our students have their own individual locker out in the hallway, whether they're 3 years old in preschool. There's no locks on them, but they come out and they have their own little private space. For us, the implementation of lockers at the school was really a health issue because, as you know, sometimes with small people, germs, bugs, things can get transferred when they're at cubbies and when their clothing and their hats and their mittens get all mixed up. So it's nice for them each to have their own personalized little space in the hallway that also does not take up instructional space. Hinsdale Renovation Committee has met. We have also been submitting budget reimbursements, for the Hinsdale School. We held a community tour of Hinsdale, which was very well attended. We are also finalizing some security, which has been done already regarding keying and fobbing systems, but the most important part of that is aligning Pearson and Hinsdale to have the same system because to this point, we've had some different keying systems in our district. All shifts of the Winchester Police Department have toured the building to ensure that safety and security reasons, they know where they're going and what to do in that particular site, along with the fire department and our emergency management director for the town.
Fire drills have been held amongst other drills at this point. We've held practice lockdowns, we've held severe weather drills, just to make sure that our kids are knowledgeable of where to go and what to do in case of any sort of emergency that we might have in the district. You heard me talk about the traffic flow adjustments at Hinsdale. Due to the high volume of car drop-offs and pickups, we do have approximately 116 families that are dropping off. So that's 116 cars that go through. So you can imagine why, last week we were on iteration number 4 of how to successfully get this done. So it took a few times for us to get it right. In terms of leadership, participated in the initial meeting with the study of the Gilbert School, participated as one of 4 students at the governor's press release for standardized scores. I presented last week at the State Board of Education meeting on the scores and progress of the Winchester Public Schools at the request of the Commissioner of Education, and also participated in the Litchfield County Superintendent's meeting, serving this year as the Vice President.
School enrollment.
Yes, so I'm going to give you what's official because we go by the first of the month. Then when we talk about the discussion of class sizes, I'll give you the updated version as of today. So on September 1st, we had an enrollment, and when we say enrollment, we're talking about students that are logged officially into Power School. We had 587 students on September 1st represented in the district. And then looking at next, the Gilbert School enrollment, currently they are at 399 as of their September 1st enrollment, with 9 international, 1 out of district, and then a total of 409 there. Winchester being responsible for that 399. You could see the grade breakdown on the next page. And in terms of the attendance for us, I will update the to-date attendance whenever we talk about class sizes coming up.
Great. Thank you, Melanie. Any questions? Monthly budget summary?
Yeah, so we are closing out fiscal year 22. I want to acknowledge Nancy and the department for working miracles to close this out as quickly as she has. So, when you plan a budget, the goal is not to come in with a surplus at the end of the school year, because that wouldn't necessarily be an adequate way to budget, to come out with a boatload that you've been able to save. So when we talk about taking it down to the wire and really budgeting it down to the wire, Nancy and her department have done an amazing job. They left us with $17 at the end of the fiscal year. That's a little bit of a teeth grinder right there. So a little nerve-wracking. We will be going to the Board of Selectmen and requesting our $17 to be added to our non-lapsing fund, because we have been utilizing our non-lapsing fund to help offset some of the increases in the budgetary requirements. So Nancy, thank you for your work around getting us to the wire, literally. Looking further at our grant budget. So for fiscal year 22, we roughly ended our grant budget. Now, mind you, this is the ESSER and the ARP money that was still in there at the time, with $2.2 million in our grant budget. However, the majority of that is set to accompany the air conditioning project that will be happening at Pearson throughout the school year. So when we flip into this school year, under fiscal year 23, in your packet, right now we are sitting at a year-end projected balance. Now, mind you, this is June of 2023 we're projecting off of right now, of a balance of $29,702, with a balance in our non-lapsing fund of $51,571. And that number will ebb and flow as invoices and staffing changes throughout the year, but that's where we sit at this moment. Looking further at the grants, what you're going to see now is that for fiscal 23, we have a grant expenditure. You heard me say $2.2 million at the end of last fiscal year. Well, we've taken and encumbered now the air conditioning cost, and what you're seeing at the bottom now is our grant allocation sits at $292,000 less the air conditioning project at the Pearson School. And that concludes budgetary report.
Any questions? Okay. Item 11, board discussion, enrollments, attendance, the impact on school faculty.
Yes, so Sandra Strubar had put on for discussion today, it was on the agenda, a discussion of enrollment and the impact on school faculty that you had put on there.
Did I email that?
I
I was looking at that.
Yes. So what I did for you, and what we have is an enrollment summary sheet that the board has up here. There's also extra copies on the table should anyone want one. It goes through what our enrollment is. So as of today, our enrollment is 600 students in the district pre-K, age 3 to grade 6. So we have 55 students in pre-K, and we leave some open seats in pre-K because we have birth to 3 students that will join us that require special services throughout the school year. So we have to have open slots by law to be able to accept those students throughout the school year. Kindergarten, we have 82 students. We've been watching that grade very closely because they're teetering right now in terms of enrollment. 1 is at 99, grade 2 at 71, grade 3 at 66, 4 67, 5 77, and grade 6 83. So that gives us an exact enrollment of 600 students as of today. We have a total of 33 teachers that serve those students, 4 per grade level, with the exception of having 5 at grade 1. Our average class size throughout the district right now sits at 18.1 students per class. And then, depending upon the grade level, our teacher's contract has class size limits in it. And our class size limits for pre-K and K are 18. We are over capacity at grade K. Our average class size for grade K right now is 20.5 students. So we are over capacity right there. But what happens is for the extra students that the teachers are taking on, they are getting a prorated amount added to their salary for the adjustment of the class size numbers. At this point, I do not see the need at this very moment to increase by a teacher in that grade. I feel like we're okay where we're at. Unless we were to get 5 or 6 more kids, I think that would end up being a conversation if we had hit that 5 or 6 more kid mark in that particular grade.
Can I ask a question?
Yes?
Does the number of teachers include the teacher's assistants?
No, these are certified classroom teachers.
How many kindergarten assistants do we have in those classes right now?
There's 3 total, so there's 3 that are shared between the 4 classrooms.
Remember we were talking about, we had to cut someone to meet the $100,000 cut.
And I think that was in
that we had to absorb, and
Right.
that's where that came from our last
Right.
meeting, is
Yes.
how the piece that we had to absorb from the Gilbert piece. So was this in kindergarten or was that in first grade?
That was actually, we brought down the number of teachers in kindergarten because we were originally looking for 5 because we were anticipating that enrollment to be slightly higher.
Right.
So part of that came off of K.
Yep, and that was,
So the reason we have the larger class size is because we had to cut that one slot in kindergarten.
Well, 20 is acceptable. You know, we're over the limit by a little bit, but, you know, financially it makes more sense to pay the little bit more than hiring another full-time teacher. And the class size ratio with the support in the classroom is acceptable.
Thank you.
thank you, yeah, that answered the
You're welcome. So my recommendation at this time is that the board does not take any action to change our teaching staff levels.
It's unfortunate. Okay, thank you, Melanie.
You're welcome.
At this point, it's item B, discussion of school security meeting.
Yes. So, pull up a document real quick. So, we had a offer to hold a school security meeting towards the end of August. That did not come to fruition for various reasons. However, the concept of having a school security forum, I believe, is one that is extremely valuable. I think it's on the minds of many, many families. I think it's on the minds of our staff about school safety.
And I think it's a really valuable conversation that we should engage in. And I'd like to, once my computer loads here, kind of go over the who, what, where, when that I'm suggesting that the board take action on tonight to help our community to understand how we are making our schools as safe as possible, and the policies and kind of some of the procedures, because we can't share everything, that we have in place to be able to move that forward. So we wanted to open that up for discussion here tonight, to discuss whether or not the board feels that that's something that you would like us to engage in. So I'm getting to the thing right now. My computer is operating slower than I am at this moment. All right, so what my proposal is that we would hold a school security community forum on Wednesday, October 5th from 6 to 7 p.m. We would hold it at the Pearson School cafeteria because that's where we have the largest capacity to hold. It would be hosted specifically by the Winchester Public Schools. We would have representatives, and some of these I have already confirmed interest in, so I can safely say this. Obviously, myself representing Winchester Public Schools. Winchester Public Schools also hires a school security consultant to work with us on our all hazards plan, our safety plan. So I have invited him to join us, and he has agreed. The Winchester Police Department has agreed to participate. The Winchester Fire Department, the Winchester Emergency Management Director has agreed. We have a phone call into the Winstead EMS right now. They have agreed, but we're not sure who is going to be represented at that time. The town manager, and then the head of Gilbert School also. So we have a nice well-rounded participation panel that I think we could really share some important information with our community. And some of the topics that we would cover would be general security practices, some of our safety procedures, the required trainings that we have to do, the local support response from our fire, police, EMS services. Partnered in this is our mental health supports that we can provide in school, because you can't talk about school security and not talk about the importance of mental health. And then the safety assessments that we have to go through. Next week on the 19th and the 20th, I am going to be trained in how to assess the seriousness of a school threat. Like, say a student posts something on Facebook. So I'll be going through a 2-day training in partnership with the Torrington Police Department to be able to assess the seriousness or the validity of these particular situations. So that is something that I can readily share and kind of update the community on. And then we would ask that people would submit any questions that they might have ahead of time through like a Google forum. So that way we can adequately prepare for some of the questions. And then also, you know, for instance, if we get a question that says, can you please post your school security plan online? You know, that's something that parents, it's a legitimate question, they may not know. We would prepare a statement that, you know, says something to the effect of, you know, it's not appropriate for us to provide that in a public forum. That's held as a secure document. It's not an FOIable document because it deals with the school security and safety of students and staff. So that way we can make sure that we're prepared to answer any questions that may arise from the audience. So I'd like some feedback from the board, and I'd like to gauge the board's interest in being able to move forward with that conversation.
I think it's a very important topic to be discussed. I'm sure everyone here knows my opinion on that. So I would recommend that we proceed with that.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. Something we should support.
I appreciate the opportunity to let people submit questions in advance.
A little hesitant about making them in the moment questions, so I think if we can provide them ahead of time an opportunity to submit, we can also kind of consolidate questions so that we're not getting repetitive questions and kind of pull them together.
Do we need to make a motion of this?
No, you just need to let me know that that's the directive that the board would like to move forward. Is there anyone that would not feel comfortable with us moving forward?
I think it's a great idea.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Okay, board action items, item 12A, new hires.
Yes, so we have Caroline Morales being hired as a paraprofessional, Erin Hunt as a kindergarten teacher, Nicole Maziak, I think I'm mispronouncing that, hired as a speech and language pathologist. You've heard me say that's a really hard position to fill throughout the past year, so we're really excited to be able to have Nicole join us. Jordan Powell as a custodian over at the Pearson School. He is replacing Ziggy. If you've known him, he's been a long time staple at the bachelor school. Ziggy is out enjoying retirement at this moment. So Jordan is joining us. Hannah Kearns is joining us as an interventionist. And then we have Amy Matani, I believe, as a fourth grade classroom teacher joining us. Heather Error, I know I'm mispronouncing some of these names. She's joining us as an EL specialist. And Rachel Fulton as a building substitute. As you can see how busy we've been. Abigail Passini as a paraprofessional. Jennifer Labby as a music teacher. Sarah Ward as an interventionist, who's doing a fantastic job for us so far. Kaylee Palmer, and she is being hired as a paraprofessional. And that concludes our hires. As you can see, our administrators and teachers have been very, very busy submitting hiring paperwork throughout the summer.
How many vacancies do we still have?
2 special education, 1 of those is a long-term sub, and we have a full-time position open. And then I believe off the top of my head, 3 paraprofessionals. Yes.
The
4?
nursing.
4? 3 or 4 paraprofessionals.
Nurses are
We
also-
finally got a nurse, and she's fabulous. She's doing a great job at Pearson.
Melanie,
So.
just real quick, the music teacher, that's general budget?
I believe so.
Okay. And then the interventionist, Sarah Ward, that's also general budget?
They are typically funded out of a grant source. Yeah, Nancy, do you want to clarify?
So it can be, depending, I'm using ESSER, I'm using some of the ARPA funds, and a little bit of general budget to fund those positions. And, Alliance too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, item number 12B, crowdfunding. That was added to our agenda today.
Yes, so we're really, really excited to bring this to you. Mrs. Silverio and I met with Victoria McDonald, who is a teacher at the Pearson School, and she had an idea. I don't know if you saw last year on the news, Hartford Public Schools had got a vending machine, and it's a book vending machine. So it's the cutest vending machine in the entire world. It looks just like a soda machine, but instead of inside of having the display of the sodas, it has a display of all different types of books. So we've been looking for an incentive opportunity for our students, specifically at the Pearson School, to be able to partner with our PBIS, which is our Positive Behavioral Support Program, to fundraise to obtain one of these vending machines. So that way we could put chapter books in it, and when students have special acknowledgments, they would get a particular token, and they would be able to go to the book vending machine and pick out a high interest chapter book of their choice. So that's kind of the gist of what we're talking about. The vending machine is the Inchworm, correct? Vending machine is what it's called. So Mrs. McDonald is asking for the board's support to be able to, we're going to apply for a couple grants because the vending machine costs between the warranty, the delivery of it, and the actual machine. It's about a $6,000 investment. So we're looking to obtain some grant funding to be able to get a hold of this. We're not looking for this as a purchased opportunity through the board. But we're looking to fundraise to be able to obtain one of these for the school. So I'd like you to please grant Ms. McDonald permission to move forward with applying for grants and seeking out potential like fundraiser opportunities or crowdfunding experiences for the purchase of this vending machine.
I'd make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, did you get those? Okay, so that's unanimous?
Thank you.
How will the books be, those supply books be kept?
So it
going?
holds 300 books. And there's a couple ways we're looking to partner with our PTO through our Scholastic Book Fair, because a lot of times there's donated books that get taken through that. And then we also have, like, I'll use my own kids as an example. Like, we have high interest, gently used books at our home that are appropriate for ages 3 to 6. And I know as a parent, like, I'm always like, God, how can I like slim down this pickings, like, and be able to donate? So we feel like that's an opportunity for community members and families to be able to maybe recycle some of the books that their children have outgrown to be able to continue to fill, because we all know they read a book a lot of times one time. It's never going to be opened again. However, you know, another child may be able to benefit from that and have it be in almost perfect condition. So we thought that would be a nice way to be able to continue without having it be a financial burden on anybody.
Anything that encourages reading I'm all for.
We're very, very excited about it. Mrs. Silveria and I, it was like the happiest meeting we had the other day. So.
I want to see it.
Thank you for that support.
Okay, item C added to the agenda is policy number 6172.1, gifted and talented. This is the second read, so this is for adoption.
All right, so everyone, we've gone through this policy before. I would defer to Mel to explain it.
Does anyone have any questions, since we are in a second read of this policy? We did go over it as a first read, so I'm happy to entertain any questions anyone might have on it.
If we don't have any questions, do we have a motion to approve or disapprove? Do I have a motion on policy?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Jeanette,
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
On gifted and talented?
All in favor?
No one reads this supposed to be accurate.
Kristen, are you voting?
I'm sorry, I was just trying to see if this was out of order.
Packet
I
or
didn't
the?
see where it was.
It's
It's on the handout.
No.
Oh, we added it to the
No.
agenda.
Yeah.
When you,
We had to add it.
we added it to the
Right,
agenda.
but which
She
item?
just wants to know in what order. It was number,
12?
12C.
Okay, so this Hubble letter
Exactly.
Is after the policies.
is after policies. Okay.
We've got a C and D before we get to the Hubble.
So we have a motion on the table to approve this policy, policy 6172.1, subsections A.
All right, we just slow down.
Everyone's
Hold on,
voted
hold on.
except for Kristen.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
It's all right, it's all right, it's all right. No, we can slow down.
Absolutely.
We can slow down. You have any questions, Kristen?
No.
Okay, so we're all in favor of this? Is this unanimous? Gifted and talented is unanimous. Barb, unanimous. Okay. All right, so I added item 12D, which is the policy number 4118.114A, pregnant employees in the workplace.
This is again second read. This is a mandated policy that provides, basically the addition to the policy is providing for a lactation accommodation for pregnant employees. Are there any questions regarding the policy?
I don't have a question, but I know that we've discussed this a couple of times, and I understand the need for changing certain policies, and I understand that when we, Tori spoke about an email that came through, and I went through our emails, and actually what it was an appeal to be moved into the 21st century. And I understand the reasoning, or not the reasoning, but the desire to not, what's the word I'm looking for, to not include somebody. Right, thanks, Kristen. To not exclude somebody. And what Tori was referring to, and was that it was stated in one of our meetings, because I looked back, and that men can have babies. And that's not exactly correct, but I think in our quest to be inclusive and to be respectful above all things, that I do object to women being taken out of this policy. And I know I expressed that last time. I don't know, I'd like to hear whether anybody has an opinion about it. I understand the need for respect for all people, but again, as a female, I have a hard time with women being taken out of a policy that clearly should also refer to women. So that's my.
Employees includes women. It's inclusive.
Correct,
It's
but
totally
pregnant,
inclusive
I
word.
understand, Cheryl, you don't have to
And-
school me, I get it, pregnant persons.
And it's a totally inclusive word.
I-
To say employee and women would be nonsensical.
Correct.
Anyone else have any questions or comments to make at this time?
I will once again point out that a man cannot have a baby at the school board meeting with 50 adults in the room. I will stand once again to say a man cannot have a baby. It seems crazy to me that I have to say it and feel like I'm the one that's being looked at like I'm the crazy person in the room. So I know I made my point clear last time. I don't agree with it I think it can only have a negative effect on people. I don't see how taking the word women out and inserting employee would be doing any help to anyone in a real way, but only hurting our students. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Not at this time.
Would anyone, do I have a motion on this policy?
Motion to approve.
Kristen makes a motion to approve.
There's a
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
6.
Any opposition, anyone in opposition to the motion? 2?
6 to 2.
Okay, the policy passes. That concludes policy.
All right, item number 13. New business discussion, possible action, teacher supplies donated, Hubble Power Systems.
Yeah, so we were really pleased. Denise McLaughlin had reached out, and we had Christine Goodall from Hubble Power Systems. They donated classroom supplies this year to teachers, and we would just like to accept their donation formally and formally thank them for their donation in support of the Winchester Public Schools, please.
Does this require a motion?
I think it does.
Yes, because it's an acceptance of goods.
Dollar amount.
So moved.
Second.
Kristen, first. Cheryl, second. Any further discussion?
I would love to follow up on what exactly they do end up supplying, because
They have already supplied.
Oh.
So they were very, very quick to get us materials. Barbara Rosie, do you want to speak to the donations? Maybe come up to the mic if you would, please.
Rosie's gonna help me remember everything that, but they did ask us, what, teachers generally need, so general classroom supplies, pencils, pens, paper, notebooks, Post-it notes, and we did ask for Ziploc bags and paper towels, because in science we go through a lot of those. Anything else markers, tissues, things like that we use, consumably regularly.
Awesome.
Thank you, ladies.
Okay, all in favor? That's unanimous, Barb? Okay, item number 9, public comment.
So I'm going to put the public comment paper back out. If you'd like to come up and speak during public comment, please put your name and the designated information.
Yep, I'll read the, I'll also read the direction. Any other public comment? Any other persons wishing to make a public comment? Please sign your name there, if you would. Anybody else wishing to make a public comment? Okay, seeing one, just a sec. Friends, neighbors, fellow citizens, the Winchester Board of Education welcomes you to its business meeting. There are 2 times during the meeting set aside to hear comments from the public. It is listed on the agenda you received upon entering the meeting room and should be limited to agenda items. We would appreciate your adherence to the following rules and guidelines. Complete the requested information on the sign-in sheet if you wish to speak. State your name and address when called upon to speak. Address your comments to the chairperson. Please do not mention the name of any specific person. As a matter of law, individuals have a right to be present, and discussions of this type must take place in executive sessions. State your thoughts, your concerns, or questions clearly and concisely. To ensure that other citizens have an opportunity to comment and that the board members can complete their work in a reasonable hour, we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. It's not the practice of the board to respond to dialogue, comments, and questions from the floor at the meeting. The board has instructed the superintendent of schools to prepare an appropriate response in a timely fashion. Commentary should only be made during public comment. No commentary will be permitted during the regular business meeting. To be sure that your concern or your statement gets proper attention, it may be in your best interest to speak to a building administrator or the superintendent of schools before making the presentation to this board. The superintendent has assured us that she will keep us informed of questions and concerns that are brought to her attention from the community and will inform us of the actions she may have taken. We hope that you enjoy your time with us and you find it informative. Okay, we'll just give it a minute for other persons to sign in. Okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
You okay?
All right.
Yep.
Thank you. At this time, the board chair recognizes David Lapointe.
Yes, 11 Hillside Avenue, Winston, Connecticut. Thank you, Nora, acting chair. I'd just like to say that I came here tonight on a issue which I addressed in the elevator to the acting chair regarding the U.S. Constitution. As the superintendent knows, and I'm sure most of you board members know, September 17th, 1787 was the signing of the Constitution of the United States. This Constitution gives us all equally the rights granted to us citizens of this great country. And knowing how rights can be violated by all people in our country and how they can be righted, I think it's only appropriate, as the U.S. Code, I believe it's 36, says that the district, as well as the Gilbert School, teach the Constitution on that day, as well as celebrate it for that week. So you as the chair, as a teacher, assured me that that is being done in the school district, and I was very happy to hear that. Also, I was very happy as a parent and as a taxpayer to see and hear tonight presentation by your superintendent on the success of the district. As Selectwoman Candy Perez stated, congratulations. And I think that it bodes well for the district. So, especially for the children who need knowledge. For the Bible says, for lack of knowledge, we perish. So, again, I hope that we don't perish in knowledge and goodness, because that's what we need. Regardless of party, regardless of gender, regardless of ethnicity, we're all Americans, and the Constitution should be celebrated, and I think that you will do due diligence. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Linda Grappo. If you could state your address for the record, too.
Sure.
Thank you.
Linda Grappo, 18 Cherry Street, and I speak this evening as a resident and not as a member of any board I've been here since 7 o'clock, listening to students' achievements. Congratulations. And then unfortunately, redefining of some words. And during this time, I kept thinking of the past. It's amazing that just over a little over 6 years ago, the town of Winchester education system failed, and that we were in receivership of total embarrassment. But thanks to a strong Board of Education chairman, a committed and cooperative Board of Education, and a dynamic superintendent of schools, look what's been accomplished, and congratulations. Change is difficult, but history shows change is good. It's 2022. The world is changing by the minute. To be successful, we must continue to be proactive and forward-thinking. We need to be inclusive to be a strong community. It's our responsibility to ensure that everyone feels safe and included in school, at home, and throughout our town. Our children are listening and watching us. Everyone, not only the parents, but each one of us, you, me, everyone in this room, everyone at home, everyone in our community is a role model for our young people. And isn't it our job to prepare our youth to be the productive, contributing citizens, our future leaders? This Board of Education needs to focus on what's best to prepare our students for a competitive future and, of course, respect each other and the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to speak, Chris Bird.
Thank you for letting me speak here. My name is Chris Bird. I live at 75 Meadow Street. And first of all, I'd like to say congratulations to not only the board, but also the teachers here today to come up with such wonderful news. Literally only 6 years, 6 years ago, I remember I'd been involved in Winstead, and we were looking at how we could improve this. And in just 6 years' time, we've gone from absolute rock bottom to where we are today. So absolutely commend everybody and their thoughts on that. The second thing that I came here to talk about today was the policy that was signed through and added to the agenda today. And I'd like to sort of put a different bit of context on it to you. And first of all, say congratulations for passing that. I work in corporate IT, and I'm a consultant, so I work with multiple clients. I work with billion-dollar global companies, and every single one of them, we are advising on HR policies. And being gender neutral is essential in these. And I would ask the board to consider any future policy discussions that gender neutral is almost a given now. It's the world that we live in. It's the way that corporate America is instructing its CEOs and its people officers to write policies, to amend policies. And I understand that many views come to these meetings, but I do thank you for taking the right and progressive route. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes our public discussion, public comment on the agenda. We need a motion now to move into executive session.
Chairperson, I would like to please invite Barbara Silverio into this conversation.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session, inviting Barbara Sir and Superintendent Ray Shanley.
Melanie?
So moved. Second.
Who seconded? Kristen seconded that? Yeah. Cheryl made the motion at 8:39.
8:39, thank
Yep.
you.
To go into executive session with Barb and Melanie.
We're going to go to the blue room.
Blue room, right?
Yes.
Okay.
we're gonna go to the blue room.
We never held conversations in any of the room.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I know, right? Got me all.
Nice jean jacket. Been looking for a while.
Yeah, don't take it. No, I know, Levi.
I know you heard me say that. No, okay. I know you're gonna talk, I just know you heard that. So that's why I have to, that's why I have to sit, that's why I have to sit in here, so.
Just having fun with the kids, and one by one, the kids
it's crazy to see if you look outside the pictures out here, the schools that used to be in this district. Some of the schools out here, they're bigger than the schools that are here now. Like, it's amazing. Like, and if you think about like where would that school be if you look around town now? It's like where was that school in this area? Like, you look around town, it's so densely populated with like homes now, and like and the way the landscape of this town is, how hilly it is. It's like the property that it's on. It's like, where was that possibly located? And my assumption is probably more up towards the center of town, like, you know, the center of Winchester. But you know, some of those buildings are beautiful. You know, it's like where were those? You know, so it's really interesting.
My dad lived here for a long time. My parents were divorced when I was little, but we lived in Waterbury and he lived up here in Winston. And we moved here because my wife wanted to live near water.
Yeah.
And there was a house available across the street from the lake. And
Yeah.
we could actually afford it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that helps. But yeah, it's a really interesting town.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we were in Terryville before this.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we were there, I think, 11 years.
Okay.
Nice place, but, I love the downtown.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's a really nice, well-established downtown.
Yeah.
It's got its, less attractive elements, but,
Hey,
that's life.
it's got the nice little theater. It's got nice couple little restaurants here and there. So it's a real nice place that you have. So that's really great. So,
Yeah, it's a good town.
good.
Haven't met anybody, who's too unpleasant. Everybody's been very nice.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, we're making some headway. I'm starting my 7th year here, so it's going well. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I only heard about the school going through receivership.
Yeah.
That sounds like it was an adventure.
Yeah, I was hired by the receiver to come in and fix special education. So it was definitely a big task that I took on, but one day at a time. That's kind of the way I took it. So
Oh, yeah, we had 2 kids in special ed, so I have some sense of what that might be like. I'm sure that was a lot of work.
yeah, I just kind of took it with I wasn't gonna fix everything right away. And I was like, hey, let's just start with what I can fix, and we're just gonna start small. And we're gonna fix the things I can fix, and we're just gonna go from there and just build upon it. And that's what we were able to do. So here we are today. So.
Yeah, that's a good attitude.
Yeah. We've had a really supportive board as well too. So, new board members now and previous board members, it's just over the past 6 years, it's been a really supportive board. That trickle down effect really helps. When it's not that way, then it's hard.
Yeah, I guess it was in the past that it was every single meeting was contentious.
It was difficult.
I certainly don't know any details. I guess at this point they don't matter. I'm amazed at the board chairwoman. She's amazing.
Yeah, Nora does a really nice job. Doug does a great job too. Doug's our board chair, and then Nora, our vice chair, she does a great job in his absence as well too. So does a really nice job. So.
Our superintendent, I guess, is the person I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, yeah. She's amazing, yeah.
Just, I've been to a couple of board education meetings in Terryville. My wife was interested in joining, but wasn't able to. And it was nothing like this.
No.
They're reasonably good, fair, reasonably professional, but these folks, they seem to know what they're doing.
That's a good thing.
that's true.
Yeah.
It's a fun city to visit.
It is very fun.
Oh, you stayed? Oh. Okay, sorry. Sorry.
Oh, see, miss.
There's no other way to end it, like I ended this way.
Poor guy.
Okay, we motioned, Chris motioned and Tara seconded to exit out of the executive session at 9:16. And so now we've reconvened here at 9:18. So, do I hear a motion to have, to make a motion for not to fill the assistant principal's position, rather reallocate up to $35,000 for the hiring of a behavioral technician for the Pearson School? Do I have a first on that motion?
I'll second. Let's do the stipends for, and the stipends.
You have to rephrase
Oh, all right, and the stipends for, okay, hold on.
to support.
And the stipends to support Melanie?
Half an hour.
A half an hour.
A day.
A day for both the superintendent and the principal of Pearson. That is seconded by Cheryl.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor? Motion carries unanimous.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Second.
adjourn at 9:19. Cheryl.
We got this game going really well.
Tori. Okay, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
I noticed that.
Thanks, Barbara.
I'm gonna start sending my briefs to you. I've been waiting for that.